All right. So this is the 10 minutes speaking. So let's get started. So what advice do you have for college graduates? Certainly, I do want you to apply for a job at Solar City or Tesla or SpaceX. Um, and if not, then if it doesn't work for whatever reason, then apply to jobs at other companies that in an arena or trusted in a company. This is engineering, and you figure out how to design the things. Then it's relatively easy to start a company. You just need to get a few like-minded people with you. I said that it's business it's quite hard to start a company in business because it's such a capital intensive business. So it's maybe better to do something in solar power or you're gonna do it in cars to do some kind of component supplier for cars or something like that. Most have college degrees in business and physics, but SpaceX is first venture in aerospace. How do you get the expertise to be the chief technology officer of a rocket ship company? Oh, well, I do have a physics background. Let's have fun explanation. And then I read the books and talk to a lot of smart people. There's a follow the trend. May have an academy say it's a real thing in terms of the physics growth of first principles, which is rather than reasoning by energy, but boiling down to the most fundamental source you can imagine. You reason up from there. It's a way to figure out if something really makes sense or just whatever it was doing. It's hard to think that way. You can't think that way about everything. It's a lot of effort. But you try and think to do something is the best way to think. When I spend work had developed by physicists to figure out quantitative things like quantum mechanics. So it's a really powerful method. And I want to know what is one thing that has brought you about your life. Recently, I brought about the world thing honestly. It's really difficult to be for any of these things to happen. Honestly, um, yeah, I just I know I wanted to be involved in technology. Um, and in fact, the reason I started the company back in '95, and internet companies was because I couldn't get any different internet companies and I couldn't get a job at any of them. I took a job at Netscape and I sent my resume and still hanging out in the lobby, but it was too shy to talk to anyone. And it was like, okay, well, I guess I have to start a company. Guess I get a job anywhere. Thank you. I wouldn't say I'm fearless. In fact, I think I feel fear quite strongly. But I know if the if we're doing things important enough, then I just override the fear. So it's not as tough as I don't fear. I feel fear like more stronger than I would like. Then also people tend to overweight risk on personal level. People think you're gonna more time to pay than kid to support. And so you deviate from your job. Whether how you're doing to feed your family and pay the rent. Okay, that's understandable. But let's say you're young and you're just coming out of college or coming out of high school or whatever. What do you risk? If you're not stuff, I mean, if you're recently not in any kind of modern economy, it's easy to earn enough money just to live in somewhere and eat food. I don't know what other people what they're afraid of. They're mostly afraid of failure, I think. People should be less risk averse than than as much at risk. what is the education line? You're basically downloading data and algorithm into your brain. And it's basically amazingly bad in conventional education. So that's totally like this huge chart. It's like more you can gamify the process of learning, the better. What's this all last slide isn't a crisis. Just trying to figure out what's the purpose of things. And I came to conclusion that if we can advance the knowledge of the world, if we know things that span the scope and the scale of consciousness, then we're better able to ask the correct question. By more enlightened and we move more forward, more enlightened, more enlightened. What drives you? What is it? Whether when you wake up in the morning, to see a problem and you want to solve it. Um, the things that drives me is that I want to be able to think about the future and feel good about that. So that we are doing the what we can to have a future be as good be as good as good as possible to inspire what is likely to happen, and to look forward to the next day. So that what really drives me is to actually figure out how do we make sure that things are right, and I'm gonna be so, and that's the aligned principle behind Tesla and SpaceX. Is that I think is pretty important to accelerate the transition to sustainable generation and consumption of energy. It's inevitable, but it matters if it happens sooner or later. And SpaceX is about helping make life multi-planetary, um, and doing what we can to continue the dream of Apollo, and ultimately make contribution to life becoming multi-planetary. That's about a little more about that. I think everyone is very interested that when you say making life multi-planetary, yeah, that's exciting. It is exciting. So what we are reason there? I think particularly for Americans, if you think about it, America is a nation of explorers. People come here from other parts of the world that choose to give up the norm in favor of the unknown. So as well as exploration, like the United States, is the distillation of the human spirit of exploration, and so that's why it's appealed to Americans so much. You can see this when you see the tragedy and seven people died. That's terrible, but a lot of people die all the time. But why do we care so much? Because it's because it was a dream of exploration. It's about dying along with those people. That's why. May I talk more about sex class basic would fail at the beginning? You thought? Yeah, sure. Really? Of course. And unless you put all your money in them, I expect to lose it. And well, actually, that I thought was, well, I take half of the money from PayPal, and if I lose half of it, that's okay. Um, but then, of course, the companies encounter difficulties, and then I have a choice of either like let the company die, or put put the money into the companies. And so if we don't want a company to die, so I put all the money into the company in the companies, yeah, and then have to borrow money from friends to spend living expenses. Yeah, just looking for evidence of exceptional ability, is the track record of exceptional achievement, and it's only that will continue into the future. But what is really depends on the stakes. Stakes are high. It's really important. Then one should then overcome the fear and just do it anyway. Um, as I told you, I mean, I just try to override fear, but I feel the fear. It's kind of annoying. I feel didn't. I wish I felt it less. Alright. So this is the end of this 10 minute speaking for today. So see you again in the 30-minute speaking English and the 20-minute speaking French. And it's actually it's not the 30-minute speaking because I'm gonna do like some chat and hand stuff on it. So it's gonna be 45. I believe so. It should be 45. But anyway, so bye guys, and see you again in the other video.